What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. I am feeling great. My 49ers vanquished the evil, hated Dallas Cowboys, and I'm feeling pretty good in terms of football world. But with the action figure front, not feeling as great, not feeling as optimistic because of the very slow roll progress of the Marvel Legends Haslab Giant-Man figure. It's going really slow to the point where in the last few live streams, a lot of you all have been asking, what's up with the HasLab? How's it going? And I've been like, well, it's just waiting for that final surge because the tiers aren't something that people are really interested in. We've got the zombie head. We've got the scroll head. Who cares, right? And for all these other HasLabs, they rolled out figures as tiers, and that helped, I think, in a lot of cases to sell the project. So let's see how things are looking right now with Hank Pym, aka Giant Man. He's standing right now, no pun intended, at 5,619 backers of the required 10,000 needed to get funded. And there's still 14 days, 3 hours, and 22 minutes. So it's not an impossible task by any stretch of the imagination. It can still get done. I am expecting one way or another that big surge to happen in the last 24, 48 hours for everybody going, oh, right, I'm meant to get this thing, or those who don't quite know and understand how the funding works and how soon Hasbro charges your account for it. If you do it on that final day, it will get charged pretty much the next day or the day after. So just a heads up, if you're trying to budget for it, that's what's going on. You're not going to get charged in your account if you back it, say, tonight. So anyhow, we've got that going, but this kind of made me think this slow progress is really dragging the odds of him getting across the finish line, at least to getting funded. And it made me look and break it down. That still needs 4,381 backers. And, just on an average, it needs 337 backers a day to get funded. And last episode, I think I was at 5,600, or, it's just not rolling along the way that I thought it was going to progress. It's going very slow. We don't see those Friday boosts, people get paid and think, oh, shoot, it's going to take money out of my account right now. We're not seeing that with this one. And it's kind of made me think and look back at a couple other HasLab's crowdfunding projects to see what they did in the event that their project was not getting funded. Now, the HasLab Marvel team decided, let's take this approach. So Dan Yoon tweeted out on the 5th. He's like, hey, here's some pics from Dwight on his Instagram. And it's showing the massive size of this incredible HasLab. This is the leader that he's palming. And it's really cool seeing that. He's grabbing him by the head, got him really yanked up and all that good stuff. So that's cool. And then we've got him throwing the leader against the wall. And that's really cool. He looks like a great HasLab, showing all the cool stuff you could do with this figure. And he has a ton of articulation, and seeing these Instagram HasLab posts are really cool. It's like, man, this is really great. When I get the figure, I'll be able to do some of these really cool and incredible poses with this figure. That's going to be so much fun. How do I shoot up and stage my set to make it look accurate around these other 6-inch figures? But they still didn't move the needle. That was the 5th, and we weren't seeing this massive surge of backers as a result of the excitement from these pictures that Dan is posting, that Dwight is posting on their accounts. And I was like, well, sheesh, what happened with other crowdfunding projects when they were facing a slow uphill battle to get funded? It took me all the way back to 2021, where Mattel was doing its crowdfunding project, the WWE Ultimate Edition New Generation Arena. And this thing was really cool. I thought it was a good value, much in the same way that I think Giant Man is. It was maybe about $250, if I'm remembering correctly, not pulling that part up. But I didn't think it was a bad price. We had 2 Ultimate Edition figures, and at that time, the Ultimate Edition figures were $30. And in my mind, my calculus with figure crowdfunding, I'm going, all right, well, that's $60. So that takes away some of the cost of the figure or the set anyway. So it's not a terrible deal to get this ring that we needed for our Ultimate Edition figures. Much better looking ring than some of the other ones they've created. We get the light up set for the new generation era. You need to figure light display information, all that good stuff. That adds on the cost. We get some more ring skirts to help diversify the effect, just how you set up your ring and your display. And I thought all those were really cool. And I was like, this is a good value. I'm backing this thing, no problem. But their guy, Steve Ozer, aka Action Figure Attack, decided, let's scrap the marketing budget. We don't need to tell everybody how cool this thing is. No, they decided, let's do this. New Generation Arena early bird bonus added. The Macho Madness Announcers Pack includes Ultimate Edition WrestleMania 10 Macho Man with soft goods entrance gear and announcers accessories. So basically, we get a 2-in-1 Macho Man. We get him in his wrestling attire. We get him sitting ringside with Mr. Perfect, Vince McMahon. We've got all that covered. The early bird offer expires August 13th, 2021 at 9 p.m. Pacific time. So let's hashtag unlock the arena at MattelCreations.com. So this was so thrown together last minute. They were like, all right, what can we do? There's no prototype. They're just like, basically, trust us. We got you covered. And here's a photo of what Macho Man is going to look like. They do have the arena commentary table set up, and it's not a massive setup. It's just 2 chairs. And for that time frame, you probably needed 3 because there were almost always 3 commentators. We got the headset. We've got 2 microphones, monitor, and this is just a basic table, and they threw a little blue cover on it to give you that illusion of the whole deal. Anyway, so we had that set up, and this was August 5th. And so that meant we had not too long. We had 8 days to get this thing back and funded. And then, I was big time in trying to push this thing, much like I'm doing now with the Marvel Legends Haslab. And so I was checking it out. The edition of Macho Man equals $96 for the 3 Ultimate Edition figures with Diesel and Doink. The usual scale ring is about $110 now, so that makes it around $130. And so it was $250 to get this thing, which again I thought was a good price point. Now, as of late Thursday, and I'm assuming that was Thursday when Steve posted this, the crowd fund was at 1,328 of the 5,000 backers needed. So this project was way further in the dark. No shot of getting funded, really. But it's like, geez, there's no way this is going to get funded. It was going at such a snail's pace run where it was just like, no one wants this thing. They're not backing it. The once in a lifetime opportunity to get an Ultimate Edition Doink the Clown and maybe the first of many Diesel figures are not enough to get this thing done. And so they were like, who cares? We're going to scrap our marketing budget. We're going to do something to get this project moved along. So shockingly, maybe not so shockingly, on August 13th, things get rolling with this project. And what do you know? August 13th, it is fully back. In the last 36 hours, the thing got funded. And this is all attributable to the Macho Man getting added to this crowdfund. He took it to another level, to the point where it got the project, which was $250. It's important to note that. And it got back. And then it was going so well. There were 9 days left to back the whole project. And then it hit all the tiers. So it was no problem. At that point, it got done. Now, what does that mean for Marvel Legends? Clearly, if you throw in something that people want, they'll back your crowdfund project. And again, that was a 2021 project that was $250. I don't think you get as much with Giant-Man as you do that really awesome Ultimate Edition arena setup, but he's really cool. The same Giant-Man figure that people are considering, they're debating getting right now, is not cheap. If you were to just go, all right, well, they did make one during the Toy Biz era. So let's take a look real fast at what this thing is rolling for now on eBay. So we got one auction. He is going now for $150. So a little bit cheaper, a little bit better. That's not too bad. Let's see some other options. $189. I mean, $189, you're basically paying the same price as the HasLab. And if you note here, he's missing a fist. So you're paying $189 for an incomplete figure, which is crazy. It is really wild to me. And so we saw the success of the Mattel version in 2021. They realized things aren't going well. We need to pivot. We need to make an adjustment. And I know you guys have said before, the $200 is the flat price. If they added anything else to this HasLab, it's going to cost more. And I'm kind of thinking it's worth it to add something in. It's not like there's a shortage of Marvel Legend backers and buyers out there. There's a broad customer base that's still buying a good majority of the figures they're cranking out. So why not just say, hey, this one's for you all. And this in turn kind of scratches our back because we get this project that we're pushing done and funded and completed. And if we have to take a bath on one $25 figure and not make the big payday for that one, instead of selling it off to Ollie's for a much discounted, cheaper rate, who cares? So let's take a look at another HasLab. And this is ironic because this was also from 2021. And this was courtesy of the guys over StarWarsNet.com. They were tracking the progress of the infamous Star Wars Black Series Rancor, aka the project that made the Star Wars team no longer do Black Series HasLabs. So I really thought the Rancor was cool. I thought this was a no-brainer. Any Star Wars fan was going to want this for their collection. But I mean, and this guy had great articulation, had articulated jaw. That was cool. You could grab figures like the Gamorrean Guard in his hand and then do the whole simulating that big moment of Return of the Jedi where it's taking a chomp out of the Gamorrean Guard, and he stood pretty impressive and pretty tall, but people were not feeling this figure in terms of backing it. And this guy needed 9,000 backers before December 6th at 11:59 p.m. And it had currently 5,000 backers. This sounds quite familiar. So Hasbro was like, all right, what are we going to do? And they had previously announced that the Rancor Keeper was going to be a tier. And then as people were not backing it, and after they were doing live streams, they were actually losing numbers. And as you see here in the last live stream, the numbers have been going down as opposed to going up, which was crazy and wild. And people were mad, and they were going, all right, here's some new tiers. Salacious Crumb and Luke Skywalker. And he was like, what are you guys doing? Why is Luke Skywalker attached to this HasLab? And in what universe is Salacious Crumb a useful and cool bonus tier figure where you should come with a Jabba the Hutt set? And so we missed out on this guy, but it was just what happened with this thing. So we got another Gamorrean Guard. That would have been really cool. And, you know, these tiers were crazy. It was like 13,500, and they didn't even get the 9,000 needed. We got this backdrop, which I thought was a crime. This should have just been part of the package itself, but hey, we're just going to toss it in as an extra tier. Not a great idea. And Bones. Here's another tier. Not great. Nobody cares about them. And here's Salacious Crumb. Why? Not a great HasLab by any stretch of the imagination. And here's a Jedi Luke render because we're still working this thing out. Not shockingly and not surprisingly, this did not get funded, as you all know, because people were like, where's Ula? Ula's a dancer in Jabba's palace. She gets eaten by the Rancor off camera. We know what's going to happen because we see it later with the Gamorrean Guard and possibly Luke. But that was the perfect opportunity to release her. She's got the kind of slave girl Leia outfit, so there's some controversy. Hey, put her behind a $350 paywall. Not like parents can complain about that. The only people chalking up $350 for a figure dressed that risque are going to be the people that have that disposable income to buy that figure. It's not something you're going to buy for little Johnny so he can relive every moment of Return of the Jedi. And I kind of feel like if Hasbro's Marvel Legends team does not make some adjustments, if they don't pivot like we saw with the WWE team going, this is not funding. We need to move this thing ASAP. We need to get it funded. This thing was so far dead in the water when it started. I mean, it was like there was no hope, no chance. It was a done deal. This isn't getting funded. Can you try something else? Because this is not good enough and it's not happening. Again, this thing was at 1,328 of the 5,000 backers needed. Giant-Man is actually further along. He only needs 4,381, aka 337 backers a day. That's still a lot. I mean, that is a wild, kind of risky, never tell me the odds Han Solo kind of deal, but it is possible, it is doable, and there's no real accounting with that number. what kind of surge we're going to get in the last few days, the last 48 hours or so. But this is something that, why not put all the chips in, push them in to the center of the table, go, we want this back, we want this funded. Again, the Marvel team is taking a hit already, much like the Star Wars team, where we saw, hey, we didn't get the Rancor funded, we didn't get Reva's lightsaber funded, no more Black Series. We learned the lesson. You guys aren't interested in Black Series HasLabs, which is crazy and ridiculous, because every time they do a live stream, the chat, the comments, the polls are going, we want more Black Series figures. And they're like, no, we can charge you $27 for vintage collection figures. That's what we're going to push. But I mean, of course, there's options for a HasLab tier. And I think the most obvious one that I've said before is the 6-inch Giant-Man. So we have essentially this look here in 6-inch figure form. And there's no like, oh, what do we want to do? Just do this design, this entire look. Just scale down to 6 inches. We don't need the detachable plates, nothing that wild and that crazy. Just simply put out this figure in a smaller form, where he's the same height, maybe even a little shorter than this Captain America. That way you can simulate, hey, bam, now he's grown to 24 inches. And I just don't understand why we can't get that. There are figures. I think that Spider-Man, the new one they've done, would work fine. He basically has this anyway. I will sacrifice the sculpted pants, the sculpted gloves, the harness, just paint it. It can be really cheap, really easily done. Just throw that in there. Throw in a Wasp figure. You got the Shriek body. Don't attach wings. You can just say, hey, this is her without her powers, because it's not like she's got wings sticking out when she's her normal 6-inch, her normal height. So this is something really obvious I think they could do. You know, if nothing else, put in an Ant-Man or Giant-Man in his 6-inch scale form, so he's looking eye to eye with his fellow Avengers. Do that, throw it in. Again, you don't have to sculpt any new parts. Just use a Spider-Man buck, call it a day, and say, hey, here you go. Now we're all good, right, guys? Back and support this project. And, you know, I just keep wondering, are we going to see an issue where they're not going to be able to make this happen? And then it's going to be this deal of, why didn't people want this HasLab? And then they're going to get the wrong lessons, just like they did with the Engine of Vengeance, where, oh, you guys don't want figures behind these tiers. And it's like, no one ever said that. We just said we simply wanted you guys to put figures that we wanted, not some bogus, not some weird ones in there. And I needed to pull this up because I feel like this is a really easy conversion here. They've got this Virgin Giant-Man already, so they've got a fantastic head sculpt for Hank Pym. As you see, it's got all the sculpting details, it's got the antennas, it's got the little slats on the side. They can really just reuse this body if they need to. I don't, it's a Bucky Cap body. I'm kind of over it. But if they were to just use this mold here with the head sculpt, they've already gotten the tank. They've already got it situated in there. And you see how he stands against the Hasbro Iron Man and Captain America. This is just for some form of reference. This figure would work fine just repainted in the HasLab Giant-Man colors. Do that figure, call it a day, call it a successful HasLab. I think just one figure would add so much. And this is really an occasion where they need to go, we're not getting that excitement from these tweets. We're not getting that buzz from our Instagram feeds, and people aren't commenting as if they're really excited about backing this project. I think adding I keep calling him Ant-Man, a Giant-Man would actually help move this figure along. And if they really wanted to make sure it was a no-brainer, everybody's on board, throw in a Wasp and not just say, hey, at Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con this weekend, we've got these figures in a 2-pack. Don't do that thing where the very successful Ghost said, hey, for backing this $500 ship, now you guys have the privilege to get a Sabine and a Chopper separately. That was bogus. That was ridiculous. It should have just been like, hey, here you go. We'll incorporate them into the cost. This HasLab anyway. We'll call it a day. They need to do this because it's not moving fast enough. And I think coming in with 14 days left, I feel a lot more comfortable. This project was kind of like 8,500, maybe peaking at 9,000. It's like, all right, cool. We know within these next 14, 13 days, it's going to get back. right now it's still a little bit too close to call where it's like, is this going to be an engine of vengeance with the early bird Robbie Rez where nowhere near enough people are backing it to get it funded? So I want this Giant Man. I backed it day one, and I really hope it gets done. But I think it's going to need a little bit of a push at this rate to get going and fully back. Let me know if adding a figure or two would be enough to get you, if you have not backed it, to support this project. And if you think it's just a lost cause, let me know as well in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Lost Figure Files has been filed.